Welcome to the Jeremy and Andy Talk Movies podcast. We are back, Andy, after an accidental week off.
It was all my fault.
Definitely wasn't asking you to take the blame for it, but
It was all
it
my
happens.
fault. It
It
was all
happens.
my fault. It was 0% your fault and 100% my fault. I was the alphabet in the situation.
Well, the nice thing is it gives us so much to talk about today. So,
Yeah,
I'm
we're
really
gonna
excited
load
for
up.
today. We've got a few movies to talk about. We got a lot of exciting news and just things happening to talk about. But we're going to start by talking about one of the big movie events of the year that came out a couple weeks ago, and that is, of course, Wicked for Good.
Yeah.
Wicked, which I guess it's just called Wicked. It's not called Wicked Part 1 or anything. They're just going with
Yeah.
Wicked.
Sure.
Came out last year, and it was a movie that we didn't do a review on, Andy. We just assumed we were not the target audience for that movie, and we just kind of let it go by. But we did both see it, and then we both were surprised to enjoy it as much as we did.
Yeah, maybe it was one of those things where just wasn't even low expectations, it was no expectations. And that just really proved beneficial to the experience of seeing it. And I saw it and I was like, you know what? I actually kind of like that movie. And I actually was rooting for Ariana Grande to win at the Oscars last year for Best Supporting Actress.
Yeah, I was as well.
Yeah.
We talked about it a little bit in like our year preview, and then as we were approaching the release date for this movie, that even though that was the case, that we saw that first one, liked it more than we expected, even as much as to hope it won something at the Academy Awards. As the second one was approaching, I wasn't like, well, now I'm really excited.
Yeah.
It was more like, well, obviously I'll see it now, and we'll do an episode. But
Yeah.
for some reason, I don't think it really raised my levels of expectation too much.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat where it wasn't like, oh, only 3 more months till Wicked for Good. It was just kind of like, oh yeah, that's out now. I should probably go see it so we can talk about it.
Yeah. Now, did you hear, like I did, I felt like I heard a lot of stuff about how different the second half of Wicked is from obviously people who know the musical, and then even people who are talking about the movie, they're like, oh, it's going to be so different than the first one. It did make me a little curious to see, like, well, what's everybody hyping up this big, like, tonal shift they're talking about? Did you feel that going in?
I did. I did. I saw some of that conversation going on online and just in some of the different, movie social medias and stuff that I like to look at and websites. And I did see some of that. And again, though, just none of it meant anything to me.
Right. Yeah, I know. As people are like, oh, well, you know, I feel this way about the first half of the musical versus the second half, and oh, they're adding in all this stuff. I'm like, I have no relationship or no connection to the musical, so none of it's going to register with me.
Yeah, they just weren't speaking my language at all. So again, but I honestly think that it wasn't a hindrance at all. It was more than anything. It was just like, doesn't matter to me because I have no expectations again. So
Exactly. Well, I'm going to do my best to give a summary of this movie, and then we will jump into our actual, thoughts and analysis. All right, Elphaba and Glinda are back for the second half of this story set in the land of Oz, as Elphaba is the target of a mudslinging campaign and Glinda is being propped up as her opponent, but it's the wizard who's puppeteering everything, and Elphaba aims to expose him for the fraud he is. But as she plots, so does the wizard, sending a team of traveling companions after her, led by a girl from Kansas. Andy,
yeah,
was Wicked for Good good?
it was fine. It was. This is the worst thing for a movie to be for us to podcast on because I didn't like it enough to be excited about it. I didn't hate it enough to get Madam Webbed about it.
That's a
So you just
great way
kind
to
of sit
put
there
it.
and you kind of just sit there and you go, yeah, like it was okay. Like I definitely have some criticisms of it, but they're not mad about it. I'm not riled up about it. I just left and I was like, okay, there's a thing that happened.
Yeah, that was my response. Like my one word response was just sure.
Yeah,
Uh,
sure.
this movie, I'll say once again, it kind of surprised me that I enjoyed it as much as I did.
Mhm.
It's well made, it's well
Yes.
acted,
Yep.
it's still kind of silly, and it's a total musical. And I'm just never gonna be a musical guy. And so, much like the first one, it opens with a big musical number. And as it opens with a big musical number, I'm like, oh no, like, what am I in for? And then, you kind of get into the story a little bit more than you expect and the
Yeah.
good performances. But, yeah. So, we already talked about this, but I wanted to go ahead and address this right here. All that hype I heard about how radically different this one feels from the first one, I didn't get that at all. I thought it felt pretty much exactly like just more of the same.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Yeah, I don't know what the big deal was, and I'm sure there are, wicked experts out there that could correct us numerous times. But yeah, and yeah, honestly, like maybe that was part of my thing where it's like I was kind of hoping there would be some kind of spin or twist or like a risk that was taken in some way. It just felt very safe.
Yes, that is a great. I haven't been able to put my finger on it, and I think you just nailed it. There was
Yeah.
no risk in this movie. It did feel very safe. It felt very
Yeah.
paint by numbers,
Hmm.
and very nice looking painting, but not anything that. Yeah, that was as a moviegoer, you're not like, wow, I can't believe such and such happened.
Exactly. And it's like it maybe they just kind of painted themselves into a corner because it's like the best thing about Wicked 1 is Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo. And this movie it's a lot of it is spent keeping them apart. And then they didn't want them to be full-fledged enemies. So they just kind of they just walked the safe line where they disagreed, but gosh, I still love you so much and you're my best friend and it just all just very safe and just amounted to not a whole lot of anything.
Yeah, this movie had it had a lot of problems that movies will have when it's split into two parts.
Hmm.
That doesn't it felt like all payoff and no build up. And the most interesting stuff in the first one was sort of developing this world that we didn't know and
Hmm.
developing these characters. There was really not any more developing of characters in this movie.
No.
Everybody was pretty much just what they were, and then it just things happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were the same people they were by the end of Wicked 1. And then like you said, then just some things happen and we get a lot of like I don't even know what the right not hints, but just a lot of like Wizard of Oz references, and you see Dorothy, but you don't really see her, and so that didn't really amount to a whole lot of anything. And yeah, and it was like you said, it's a nice looking painting. Like it the world they create looks good. Obviously, Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande can belt out these big numbers and stuff, but we already knew that. So you just yeah, like the movie just ended, and you just kind of like you said, it's like sure that that's some stuff that just happened.
Yeah. I think my biggest issue with, and this is just kind of inherent in musicals, I think, but I particularly felt it in this one. I didn't feel like I felt it in the first one. Is that the pacing just felt really off to me?
Hmm.
And what I mean by that is like there was a lot of rushing through certain areas of the plot. It's like we got to have a lot happen, and we've only got a little bit of time to tell the story, so we really got to rush through these things. But then you're going to get to a musical number where they're going to spend 5 minutes singing about one little interaction, and you're like, it really makes the pacing feel weird. Why did we spend so much time over here and then have to rush all of this? And yeah, like so, it didn't feel like it built like a movie's supposed to build.
Yeah,
And so the end payoff didn't pay off like I think it's supposed to, and I just
yeah,
felt pretty indifferent by the end.
me too. And like because it was surprising how much I ended up enjoying the first one, and you do kind of get attached to the Elphaba and Glinda characters. So I thought like, man, this one might pack an emotional punch with them having like their friendship basically having to crumble and collapse and then be on opposite sides. But they weren't, like I said, they just played it too safe. They didn't go fully into that. Um, so you really didn't get any emotional payoffs of any kind, other than them having like this last kind of second, or not second, but towards the end of the movie, they just kind of have a meeting where they're saying their goodbyes, but then they kind of cop out on that too at the end of the movie. And yeah, I don't know. This movie needed a risk of some kind.
It really did.
Yeah.
Um, I think the other thing that this movie had going against it, as opposed to the first one, is that the first one happens entirely separate from what we know from The Wizard of Oz, right? Before there's ever Dorothy and all those characters. This one happens a lot alongside that. Now it does. I do like the choice they made, and I guess it's accurate to the play where you never see Dorothy, but you
Mhm.
see like the things that are happening. The wizard sending them out, and like they're kind of happening along the story. But that said, they do a whole lot of retconning what we know from the Wizard of Oz story in this movie. And I think that's more challenging. I wouldn't even call myself like a big Wizard of Oz fan, but as I'm watching it, I'm going, "Oh, now the characters from this movie all have this personal connection to Elphaba and
Yeah.
you know, because of that, like Tin Man's totally different instead of being like this whimsical little, just Tin Man. Oh, he's this guy who's got this grudge against Elphaba and all this. And then the absolute worst. I guess we're into spoilers now. Sorry.
Yeah.
But the absolute worst was the whole Scarecrow thing, where you're
Yeah.
taking what's his name, Fiero or whatever his name is,
Whatever his name
and
is. Yeah.
by the end, it's almost they almost do the weird thing where it's like it's a twist, a reveal or something like that, even though it's very obvious what's
It's
happening.
obvious, yeah.
And then when it's the reveal, it's like, oh, he's Hot Scarecrow now, and Hot Scarecrow and Elphaba, the Wicked Witch, are going to run off together. And it's like you just sort of sit back and go, what?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. Well, and it's contributing to this bigger problem we have in Hollywood with these expanded universes where they have such a they feel like they're so important to tie everything together and everything's got to have a connection from the movie no matter how long ago it came out. And we've talked about this. I've said this before, like, and Marvel is guilty of it sometimes too. Like, sometimes they get too wrapped up in, like, oh, wink, see what we just did there, like, isn't that so clever? And I'd rather them just focus on telling interesting stories than worry about, making these tie-ins with the other movies or these funny or what they think are funny Easter eggs and clever Easter eggs and stuff. That moment is kind of come and gone for me. I don't need that anymore. That doesn't make a movie to me anymore.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. That's
Yeah.
once again, Andy, you're bringing fire this episode, man. So
To the Wicked episode.
I appreciate it. Uh, yeah. Whew. So I guess because I gave the spoiler at the end, like yeah. So what we're building to this whole confrontation, is I mean like there's really no confrontation. You kind of think you're building to one, but all that happens is Elphaba realizes like, oh, I'll just disappear. So I'll
Yeah.
let them think this girl Dorothy killed me by splashing water because somehow that became a rumor that she's so wicked that if you hit her with water, water's pure and it will like melt her. So she stages it so Dorothy will hit her with the water and she'll disappear through this trap door and then everything will be okay because she just runs away with hot Scarecrow.
Yeah. That
And
just
you're
felt
like,
really flat.
Yeah, like you're like, so we built up like 5 hours of movie combined between the two just for this. Like it's kind
And
of
we don't even really see it because it's more from, like, Glinda's point of view, like she's hiding behind the door, so
right.
you only kind of see this confrontation between Dorothy and the witch, and yeah, it just feels like a pretty disappointing payoff for, a year wait and two movies and all this stuff.
Yeah, and the wizard. I mean, I guess we kind of already had to know what was going to happen to the wizard because while they do retcon a lot of Wizard of Oz, they stick with the like he just flies off in his hot air balloon,
Hmm.
right? Like that's, and then Glinda does kind of take control of things and whatever the other Madame whatever's name is, the other villain
Whatever,
lady,
right.
she has the flying monkeys imprison her, I guess. But
And I guess that's supposed to be a big satisfying moment, and again, that's just not done in a real grand or exciting way, and then just kind of movie over.
yeah, yeah. I mean, as we're talking through it, you're right. Like there is so much like kind of Easter eggs type stuff that you think that's just supposed to have a lot of payoff. I mean, going even back to Elphaba creating the shoes for her sister, the ruby
Yeah.
slippers, and then when her sister has the house land on her, like, and that's again where because they don't want to show too much of Dorothy because they feel like it'll be
Mhm.
distracting. You got to keep the story about Elphaba and Glinda. But because they don't show any of that, like they really rush through it. Like, yeah, so a house landed on this important character, and they took her shoes, and we're moving on.
Yeah, everything just ends up feeling really rushed, and that even that like that house falling on her just kind of comes out of nowhere, and so it just all unfortunately doesn't amount to a whole lot. But again, like I said, it's not that I'm sitting there going, man, this movie sucked. It's all happening in a world that looks great up on screen, and um, and like I said, the best thing about the first one was Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo, and so we already know that they're good and they're good up on the screen. So we just don't learn a lot of new anything in this movie. So it's definitely a little disappointing, but only so much, I guess, because like we talked about at the beginning,
Yeah, when
we're not diehard
expectations are
Wicked.
here, yeah,
Yeah, so no harm done really in the long run. This is certainly not going to be on my worst of the year list or anything like that. But I was just kind of
no,
hoping. I was kind of hoping we'd be able to look back at the last couple years and be like, man, Wicked just kind of came out of nowhere and ended up being a lot of fun.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Critics seem to agree with us, Andy.
yeah,
So the critics gave this has a 68% on Rotten Tomatoes right now,
yeah.
and that's down from the first one having an 88 score. So it
It's a big drop.
20% less than the original. Now audiences are pretty close. The original audience score was 95%. This one was 93%, and I think that's pretty typical. Like this Wicked has a passionate fan base, people who really
Yeah, I'm
love
not
this
surprised
movie,
at all.
and I'm not surprised that they went and just they were always going to love it.
Yeah, I'm not surprised at all, and they're flocking to see it. So I mean, it's a win. It really is. I think it's already made like $300 million just in the U.S. and
Well,
it's going to be fine.
yeah, it's making money. It had a budget I saw of 150 million, I think. So
Yeah,
we talk about that double your budget thing. So it's already done that.
yeah, it's
So
going to be a big moneymaker. And now I've already been seeing stuff online about how we're going to continue this world, and now we're talking about maybe some new Wizard of Oz type material, and I'm like, oh no, here we go. It's like the dam breaks, and here comes this big flood. And it's like, how can we just continue to milk this? I don't think anything's like official yet, but I've already seen plenty of chatter about even another Wicked movie or a prequel to both of these characters, and it's just like, oh my gosh, of course, we just
yeah,
have to immediately ruin all of this.
yeah, that's deeply disappointing and not at all surprising to hear.
Exactly, exactly. So
Yeah.
here, I'm gonna ask you a question. Do you think we'll see another like Ariana? You think we'll see Oscar nominations? Will Ariana Grande get another nomination for this?
So I was going to ask you the same thing.
Yeah,
That would have been my expectation. The low critic scores making me wonder.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's
I
really kind of hard. I would be okay with it again. I think she did really well again.
mhm.
Um, and I'm not really sure what all her competition's going to be. I haven't really like sat down and made a list, and usually my list doesn't matter anyways because the Academy goes totally different than I would.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know if it's a tough category this year or not. But I could see her getting in.
I could too. It would be strange to me if she swooped in and won for this one after not winning last year, because I think the first one's just a much better film, and they both get more of a chance to shine in it. But you never know. I'm losing touch, I feel like, with what the Academy likes and wants. So
I do feel like if it wins awards, it will be more of a Lord of the Rings, Return of the King situation where they're kind of rewarding it for both parts, even though they're just giving it
yeah,
for this part.
and I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot of set design, costume design, makeup, score, music, song,
Special
that kind of.
effects, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll be seeing at least a lot of nominations. I'm sure it'll win a few of those below the line type of things too. I would not be at all surprised by that.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised either. And frankly, like, it does deserve it.
Yeah,
I
it's
was
fine.
impressed with
It's
how
fine.
good the movie looks.
Yeah, I would have no problem with that.
Yeah. I do want to say, just before we move on from this movie, that I was surprised some of the criticism I saw, and I didn't get too far into it, but I would just see like headlines and that sort of thing, or like snippets from critics who were critical of sort of like the political point of view of this movie, or saying things like,
Uh,
oh, I can't believe that they would have this in the movie. And I was always like, I don't even know what they're talking about. I
I
don't
know,
know
right?
what in this movie was even remotely controversial. Um, so I don't know. That was a weird thing to me. I'm just gonna throw that
Uh,
out there.
I will back you up completely. That was super weird, and I didn't see any of that. I don't care about any of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, there it is. Wicked
There's
for
Wicked
good.
too. Like the people
Yep.
that, like you said, the people that like it are gonna like it. It's doing fine. We're not hurting its feelings by saying we just thought it was so-so. It's still making a boatload of money. It's doing fine.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. All right, Andy, we have a little bit of like kind of big Hollywood
Yeah.
news to discuss.
Yeah.
So we're gonna shift gears just a little bit because Netflix just what was it, like 2 days ago, I think, something like
Something like
that.
that.
They acquired Warner
Everything.
Brothers and HBO,
Everything.
and for a reported, like, I've seen a bunch of different numbers, 72 billion, 82 billion,
I
something
saw
like that.
82 billion.
I don't know how Netflix has just seemingly unlimited funds, but apparently they do.
Stranger
Um,
Things just made them all this money, maybe.
I guess so. Like, I mean, people may complain, and I have before, about the price of a Netflix subscription, but I just can't understand how enough people are paying for that subscription to add up to billions of dollars in money to spend on buying other companies. But I guess it does.
It's wild. It's crazy. I'm so mad. I put $81 billion in as a bid, and then they outbid me by $1 billion. I couldn't believe
You're
that.
that close.
I was so close to having all that.
Yeah. So I know for the average person, we're not the average moviegoer. We are, we're movie obsessed and that sort of thing. For the average person, this doesn't mean a whole lot. But for people like us, when things like this happen, we're like, it's a little worrying because
Yeah.
you look at it and you go, are we reaching something closer to a monopoly? Is Netflix just going to own streaming? Are they going to own movies? Having a diversity of movie companies is good ultimately.
Yeah.
And I don't know. So what were your initial thoughts about that?
So my first concern is always just for the well-being of theaters.
Mm-hmm.
You know, these streaming services, I really don't care. Netflix can own them all. I don't care about that. My number one concern is always for theaters. I've said it on here a billion times. I want theaters to succeed. Movies need to be experienced in the theater. So anytime I hear that a streaming service now owns anything that kind of overlaps with the movie theater experience, I just don't like it. I don't. And I honestly, I haven't deep dived into this maybe as much as I should have. I do plan on it, but I did see one of the first statements brought out from, I guess, Netflix was like, "Hey, we're still going to be releasing movies in theaters." Then I've already heard rumblings of like shorter release, windows. So instead of a movie playing for whatever 100 days, maybe just be playing for 25 days or whatever. And I just don't like it. I want movies to be out in the theaters, and if they're succeeding, I want them to stay in theaters, and I don't know. It makes me nervous for sure. I don't like it.
Yeah, that I was right there with you. I was happy to see them put that out there because I knew that was going to be an initial concern. As Netflix famously does not put their movies in theaters except for like the most limited release that they have to in order to qualify for awards considerations.
Yeah.
But like never near guys like us. We're not
No.
in New York or LA to find the one place that's screening them. And so, yeah, when they require things, you're right. The initial concern is, well, crap, does that mean all Warner Brothers movies are now going to be straight to Netflix movies? And so it was nice to hear no. But it's also like they can say that, but
Right.
how much do they mean that? And then, like, what becomes a Netflix project versus how separate are they going to keep the businesses? Because maybe they do. But also, like, maybe they intend to, but it's just always different when things start actually happening. When there's a script that both companies want, and one company owns both, they get to dictate where it goes. And, they might say, no, this is going straight to our streaming service. I don't know. If I was being a real optimist, I would say, well, this is great because maybe now Netflix has an excuse to not break from their model, to not be hypocrites and actually put movies in there. And they can just say, hey, we'll release this one under the Warner Brothers name. That way we can put it in theaters and not, again, break our code of straight streaming only. That would be the optimism in me. But I'm not optimistic. I'm skeptical. I'm too afraid that every time they think they've got a real movie like a great hit or a contender, they're going to say, let's put this on Netflix. So we continue to bolster that as our premier flagship, and then great movies won't go to the theater.
Yeah, and then the end result is, we end up missing out on movies that we talked about it. We both loved The Killer. That's a great example, and not optional for us small town folks to go see that anywhere. A big thing for me, I'm still salty about, was The Irishman. Several years, 2000, what, 19, 20, I don't know, whenever it was. A Scorsese movie. De Niro and Pacino, De Niro and Scorsese working together for the first time in years, and I don't get the option to go see it in the theater. I would have been in that theater, so I don't care if that was a 3.5 hour long movie. I would have sat there and enjoyed every second of it, and I just didn't even have the chance, didn't have the option, and that's just really, really disappointing for me.
It is disappointing.
Yeah.
Another element of this that I did see is that they're planning to keep the streaming platform separate. Like HBO will be its own streaming platform still, and Netflix will be. Again, that's the plan.
That's what they're
we'll
saying.
See what ultimately happens. So here's what I see when I see that. My first thought is, well, yeah, I guess that would make business sense for them because now they can continue charging for two different platforms, right?
Right.
And eventually people may see it and go, well, if you own both of these, why am I paying for two different ones? Why don't you just put the stuff together? And I could see that happening, but then Netflix going, okay, yeah, we're going to integrate all these libraries, but now because we're offering you this much more, we're going to raise the price.
Yep.
And then people essentially are paying for both, but just for one. And so people who only wanted Netflix and not HBO now have to pay essentially for both because they're combined. And again, this probably goes back to me being a skeptic, but that's what I see happening in the long run here.
Yeah. Exactly. That's one thing. And then, too, I think another problem is just going to be that now Netflix has all these properties, these franchises. Like, I don't even remember what all it is. I mean, I think a lot of the DC superhero stuff, the Conjuring universe, I think. And I'm telling you, what's going to end up happening is they're going to want to do their spin on all this stuff. So we complain about this, unoriginal, and they're dragging this franchise back out of the grave and stuff. And I'm afraid we're just going to see a slew of that over the next couple years.
Yeah, you're probably right. I mean, one of the biggest ones is the DC universe. And, like James Gunn is supposedly just getting going with building out his version of it. His Superman was a success, and it's already like, well, what's going to happen now? It's under new leadership. Are they going to say, never mind, James Gunn, we're going to take it in our own new direction. We're going to have our third reset in just a matter of a decade. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think at some point, specifically like with this DC universe, I mean, we're just talking about what ifs, but like if that does happen, how many people are going to just continue to stay on board with yet another reset of the DC universe? And I'm not here to defend the DC universe. I mean, some of those movies are just awful, and that's the other thing too. Like, are we just going to lose movie fans in general? Because are there going to be people that just go like, man, I can't keep keeping up with all these resets and reboots, and hey, these group of Henry Cavill's Superman, well, now forget about him because we don't do that anymore. And like, so then is the end result just going to be that there's less movie fans in general? And I'm talking out a scenario that maybe won't happen, but this is where my mind goes to. Same thing, something like the Conjuring universe, which people have different opinions on. The last Conjuring movie was just a massive hit, and to me it kind of put a nice bow on the series. Well, now that somebody else owns it, are we going to be like, oh no, we're just bringing that right back? And so you're just constantly taking your audience on this up and down ride, and at some point people are going to get off of it and be like, you know what, I'm tired of this. Is it? Oh no, now we've got a new one. And I just don't want the end result to be that there's just less movie fans in general, and people just going like, I can't keep up with all this.
Yeah, you're very right, Andy.
Yeah.
And, just bringing it back to where you started it. Movie theaters, we want them to thrive. So let's hope that this doesn't have an adverse effect on, it's always tough to tell the timeline when we would really see if this was to have an effect on it, when we could start attributing it to this deal, 2027, 2028, probably somewhere down the line, because, movies for 2026, most of them were probably pretty much in the can. But yeah, going forward, I don't know. It's interesting. It just the other question is when will it stop? You know, is is Netflix going to keep acquiring things?
Are
'Cause
they going
they're
to buy
sort
the
of,
Jeremy and Andy Talk Movies podcast?
yeah, it's sort of well, you know, Netflix.
Call me Netflix.
Let's. I promise you, I will be cheaper than Warner Brothers slash HBO.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
mean,
a
probably
little bit.
50 billion would be fine for
Yeah,
you and I.
right. I mean, what a
Yeah,
discount.
we're not greedy. We're not greedy.
Yeah. But it is kind of like the game of Monopoly, right? Like the more you own and the bigger you get, the easier it is for you to start kind of picking off the
everything.
smaller guys. You know, like when is Netflix going to make its bid for A24 or something like that? That would be, you know,
Yeah. Now, on the plus side, we do have Tom Cruise and Christopher Nolan fighting for us. You know, they like I've already seen where Christopher Nolan's like I supposedly he's got like a meeting scheduled with like these big executives and he has a lot of concerns cuz that guy, him and Cruise are two of the biggest advocates for no, we want movies need to be seen in the theater. So, if you're going to have people on your side, give me Nolan and Tom Cruise.
yeah, I would
So,
agree.
yeah, it'll be
And
interesting to see how it all plays out.
and you know, movies. I think no matter what, there will always be event movies in theaters. I
Hmm.
think what the big fear is what happens to the smaller movies.
Yeah.
You know, the
Yeah.
movies that have a more limited demographic. I'm not worried about Wicked and movies like that going away. You know, Zootopia 2 is not going away because
Right.
family movies like that have people can all bring their kids to, they're going to always have an appeal.
Yeah.
I'm worried about the smaller stuff. You know, what happens? Are we going to keep having movies like Weapons and Companion and, you know, The Monkey and these smaller movies that we really like this year? Are those going to keep coming out?
That does worry me as well. But I do think one great thing this year is that we had Sinners and Weapons. You know, two original, definitely not small movies. I mean,
Hmm.
Coogler, you know, has a lot of stroke and stuff. But I mean, two original movies that thrived in the theaters. I mean, both
Yeah,
those movies made big money. So I hope stuff like that helps. You know, it kind of helps support the case and support the cause.
absolutely.
So we'll see.
Yeah, we will see. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us for this episode, for hearing us talk about Wicked. I am certain that people are going to have thoughts about Wicked, so feel free to let us know.
Let us know.
Especially, I have a feeling people are probably like it more than we expressed. I don't know. I haven't heard anybody just straight up hate it, so
No, I
yeah.
haven't either.
But yeah, let us know what you think about Wicked, and then let us know if you have an opinion on this whole Netflix taking over all of movies
Yeah,
deal.
absolutely.
So, yeah, and then we will be back with another episode talking about, of all things, a Netflix movie. So,
Of course, the irony.
yes. Please join us for that, and we will see you next time.
Yep. See you next time.